Welcome to Scrollin', a podcast about the Elder Scrolls Online. I'm Ket.
I'm Davius.
This is episode number 38. I don't have the game open right now, and so I don't know what to do with my hands.
What do I do with these things?
Well, okay, let's get into these. Let's talk about the Cyrodiil AoE test situation. Gina Bruno, the community manager, posted a forum post on the official forums, basically talking about that they've concluded these Cyrodiil AoE tests, and the devs have drawn some, conclusions. So I'll just read Gina's own words here. She says, in reviewing the data for all the different tests, we did see some marked improvements in performance, but they do not have a significant enough impact on improving the overall player experience. As a result, we'll not be making any major changes at this time. I think that's not surprising at all that they noticed that it didn't have a significant impact on the player experience. I think most players can tell you firsthand, like, yeah, that's true. Like, my experience is certainly not better during these tests.
It was worse during the test. The playing was, I mean, even if the performance was better, the actual playability of the game was just not fun.
Yeah, and in fact, most players were kind of coming to the conclusion of, like, let's just have the bad performance back. You know, like, it was just better than... not that it was ever like even perfect during these tests.
Yeah.
I would say approximately 100% of ESO players are happy to hear that none of those changes are being implemented.
Yeah, they're too drastic. Too many drastic changes.
It was impossible for me to fathom how that could have been implemented without a whole slew of other major overhauls that would have had to have gone alongside of it. Like, entire classes would have had to have been redesigned. I think it would be like years of development work just to get that to where it makes any kind of sense.
Yeah, and Cyrodiil's tough because, you know, I feel like Cyrodiil is like where your big time content creators are. That's kind of where they hang out, and so, you know, I feel like they have to be real careful when they do any kind of tinkering. So I think this is, you know, as you said, this is good to see because if they make any massive changes in there, you know, it's good for the game to have big time content creators, you know. Those are the people that attract new players, and so... Yeah,
totally. Like, the biggest content creators are primarily PvP players, and they're mostly Cyrodiil focused. And so if you have all these streamers, you know, the main thing that they do for their livelihood is being severely threatened. That can't be a good thing. Plus, just the experience of playing the game, though, outside of that, you know, like... we were talking earlier, like, let's say we're playing some Battlegrounds and then we want to switch it up. Let's jump into Cyrodiil, go get some transmutes or something like that. And it's like suddenly our characters don't work anymore. Like, it made no sense for that there's no way they could have implemented that in a way that would have made sense without, like I said, just totally making a bunch of other overhauls.
Yeah.
And it harkens back to, I think you had said several episodes ago, when they were doing the testing for light and heavy attacks back in the spring of this year. It's a similar situation. They were testing some weird ideas, some stuff that seemed pretty far out there. Most players were like, I'm not a fan of this. And they decided not to do it. You know, they did the test, they got the feedback, and they just threw it out. And doing the same thing here. I like to see that. I like to see their willingness to, like, let's just try stuff. Let's see what happens. We want to make this better, and this is the only way that we can kind of get the data that we're looking for. And then, you know, they don't let their pride get in the way. They can just throw it out and not worry about it.
Yeah, 100% agree with everything you said there. It's great. And the key phrase in there, from what you read about what Gina said, is that, you know, overall player experience. They understand that just improve, you know, even with the performance improvements, the player experience was down. And so it's nice to see them. They basically kind of were saying, hey, we tried this. We wanted to see if we could do something. We realized you guys didn't like it. So, you know.
So there's not going to be any AoE cooldowns. There's not going to be any AoE ramping costs or anything like that. That's all out. However, they are keeping one thing, and Davius, you called this a couple of episodes ago, the deal where group sizes are limited to 12 players or less, and you can't heal anyone outside of the group. That's staying, and that's actually already implemented on consoles right now. That went live Monday. And then on PC, that's going to be implemented next Monday, November 16th, along with a bunch of other bug fixes and stuff.
It's all we could ask for. That's perfect.
Yeah, it's totally great. We've been, I think it was like 8 weeks total of testing that we did. So it was quite a while, and it was, kind of annoying at times. But I think if this is the one thing we got out of it in the end, I think it was totally worth it. Because this is something that a lot of people, we've said before, a lot of people have been asking for this exact type of solution, not for performance, but just for combat balance sake.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what this is. Like, the devs aren't implementing this for a performance solution. The bad performance is still there. That we're just stuck with that for now. But this is a nice balance change here.
Yeah, I think it's going to make quality of life in Cyrodiil so much better. All these players just start flocking together. Zerg is such a common term now, but they flock together with this Zerg, and a good 25 to 50% of them are just dropping heals. And it's not even necessarily that they're like strategic good players. There may be some good ones in there. And it's not even maybe they are good players, but they're not even having to try, because they're just so many people and they're just dropping so many heals that everybody in that group is just, there's no way you can even put a dent in them. They're not even having to try. So it's not even like a quality of play type of thing. It's just, this group has so many people, there's so many heals that they're dropping and throwing on the ground and throwing up all these hots, that it really takes a lot of the fun out of it, because there's nothing you can do. You can't even pick off, some of them to try to weaken the group, because those heals are just hitting everybody. So this change, I think, is going to make the quality of life in Cyrodiil so much better, because even when all these big groups group up, because there's still power in numbers, but these groups aren't just going to be impossible to put a dent in.
Yeah, and we're not going to see nearly as many ball pickup groups. People who aren't actually grouped together, but they're running around together, right? Yeah. Because it's just as good basically right now. You're getting all the cross healing and all that stuff. And when they were testing out this scenario a few weeks ago, I jumped into Cyrodiil and was trying it out. It's a very different kind of experience. If you're in there by yourself, you can't heal anyone and nobody can heal you,
Yeah.
And so, you can be surrounded by allies, but in a lot of ways, you're still kind of totally on your own. But by the same token, your enemies are in the same situation, and you can dive into a Zerg and pick off someone and kill them and get back out before you get surrounded. That actually is possible. So that's pretty cool. It encourages more small scale play, which is, I think, what we like a lot.
Yeah.
I think the big downside is for inexperienced solo players that are just jumping into Cyrodiil, seeing what it's all about, and wanting to jump into some action. Those players benefit quite a bit from random heals being thrown around, and they're not going to benefit from that anymore. That's why we've said before, it'd be really nice if they made one concession and just allowed direct heals, like a combat prayer or a breath of life, to go outside of the group. So you can target someone, give them that one-time direct heal, and I think that should be allowed. Maybe in a future patch, that's something that might happen.
Yeah, I think something like that. I think what this kind of does is that if you are a new player and you're kind of getting into PvP and you're kind of dipping your toe in that water, I think this has kind of pushed it to where you really should start out. Battlegrounds is a much better place to start out, especially now that group Battlegrounds is back, as well as Battlegrounds are, it's a random type of Battleground, so you're gonna, maybe you'll get the flag games, or maybe you'll get a death match. So there's a bunch of different types, and so I think it alleviates a lot of pressure in a Battleground because it's quick.
There's also the matchmaking system too, so hopefully you're being matched up skill wise.
Yeah, and I think once you do enough Battlegrounds, you can kind of get a feel for kind of a PvP, and I think that would help players out a lot in Cyrodiil. And we've been talking a lot about this week. The changes in the transmute crystals, different ways to get them now. I think new players aren't as forced to go into Cyrodiil as maybe they used to be in the past.
Yeah, and I wonder about that transmute thing. I've mentioned this before, but I wonder if that's like kind of them making transmutes more available in other areas of the game. I wonder if that's code for them kind of saying, we don't know how to fix Cyrodiil. It might not be getting fixed, so here's some other ways to get transmutes more easily.
Well, and that, I think there is small performance gains in there. Like, one of the things they said they fixed was the random loading screen.
Oh yeah,
that being gone, that's a big performance fix for me.
Absolutely.
Because that was really annoying. And, like we're talking about, maybe new players won't be forced to go into Cyrodiil, or as many PvE players be forced to go into Cyrodiil. So that might reduce the numbers a little bit, which might help a little bit on performance. And these changes, while not huge, I have to think that the group member cap and the no outside heals is at least got to make some small percentage. And so maybe all of these coming together makes a little bit better, nothing huge, but a little bit better performance is welcome at this point, I think.
Yeah, I guess we'll find that out here pretty soon. Well, that's not implemented right now on PC, but after this recording, we're going to go jump into Cyrodiil to do some transmute grinding. Yeah. But yeah, this isn't implemented till next week, so I guess we won't see it till next week.
I do feel like I have to mention too is when they were doing just this test, I did enjoy. It was the first time I was in Cyrodiil, and I actually felt like I could go out on my own and get a couple kills, and I was dying too. But even in big Zergs, like I think there was like a keep being attacked, and there's a big group coming in, and I feel like in the past that would just mean, all right, turn around and run. There's more than 10 people. But I felt like I could actually go in there and kind of strategically kind of pick some of them off. And even while the others were nearby, they were kind of focusing on the door. And so I was able to even go in and pick 2 or 3 of them off. And I don't know, it was just that small experience kind of I really kind of felt that change kind of really happening of the no outside heals. It just seems like there was more. This sounds really bad, but there was just more people dying, which I think was a good thing.
Yeah, that's always been the problem with like CP Cyrodiil is like that's what people always complain about is no one ever dies.
Yeah.
Like fights just last forever and ever.
Yeah, everybody just gets poked for a little bit, but nobody ever actually dies. Like that keep battle went back and forth, I think like 3 or 4 times. Because people were dying. There was bodies all over by the door. There was people up top on the keep. There was bodies all hanging around there. Like it was a lot better fighting. It was one of the better fighting Cyrodiil experiences I had because nobody felt like they were just invincible.
So probably no more just solo healers running around, right? That'll be a thing of the past.
Yep.
If you're a healer, you're just going to need to find a group to roll around with, or just enjoy healing yourself and staying alive and, trolling people. I guess that's a thing to do. But that's Cyrodiil. Yeah, the testing's all concluded. None of the AoE cooldown stuff is happening, thank goodness. And we are getting that 12-player group cap with the no outside heals, which is really the one thing out of all of that everyone kind of agreed, or most people kind of agreed, that's a good thing. Let's do that, but none of the rest. And that's exactly what we got. So I feel good about it. On the topic of PvP, a different mode of PvP, let's talk about some battlegrounds. So this is Davius. This is our thing. We're all about battlegrounds. If they ever were to like just sell Battlegrounds off as its own game, I wonder if we would even still play ESO or if we would just go play Battlegrounds and this would just be a BG podcast from that point forward.
I hope they never do that because I am scared of the answer for that.
Man, our enthusiasm for Battlegrounds has just been reinvigorated, right? I mean, groups are back. It's a whole new thing now.
Reinvigorated and maybe higher than it's ever been. I mean, we've talked so much and we've been doing so many group battlegrounds. We're so excited. It's kind of that thing. We didn't know what we had till they took it away. We totally experienced that with group battlegrounds, but so much fun doing these again. Really, really, and it's really cool. And I think we've mentioned this, but we have so many more characters now. At least me, for sure. We've been pairing up so many cool pairings and tinkering and trying things out. And I know other players and other friends are out there doing that same thing. And so maybe the most that I've enjoyed Battlegrounds. I don't know if that's just because I can't remember when they were before, but it's just a lot of fun to hop in a Battleground right now.
It's been a lot of fun. It's been a lot, like the intensity has been cranked up in Battlegrounds quite a bit. And I'm talking in the group queue, obviously, but even in the solo queue, I've noticed that the intensity is a lot more than it was before. And I think it's because I think a lot of players just stopped doing BGs whenever grouping went away. And now that grouping's back, even players who play solo a lot of the time are taking a renewed interest in Battlegrounds. And a lot of these like really heavy hitting, formidable players that we've seen in the past that we haven't been seeing for a while, they're back now. And it's good to see them back, but it was kind of nice having them gone for a while, you know?
Silver lining.
Yeah. They make us all have to step up our game, that's for sure.
Yep.
What have you been doing? So we have the group queue and we have the solo queue, but as a solo player, you can do either one. Have you been mixing that up or spending time in one versus the other?
I would say I'm probably 90% of the time I've been in group queue. I've had so much more fun with the idea of group, because even if you solo in the group queue, it's still fun to have usually the people you're going to get paired up with. There's at least going to be a group of 2 or a group of 3.
Yep.
And I just miss that dynamic so much. It's just a lot of teamwork.
Just having 2 people grouped up can make all the difference, because those 2 people are following each other, which means everyone else is just going to follow suit, and it just makes it so much easier to work as a unit.
Exactly. And I've done the solo queue. It's the solo queue is kind of still what it was when it was only solo queue, I feel like, but kind of like what you said, the intensity in solo queues, I feel like that's where people are going. If they have a character, they're like, okay, I feel like this character can just take on everyone by themselves. Mm-hmm. That's the kind of people I feel like I've been running into to the solo queue, is that you just have these people that are like, okay, this person can take on the world. Sometimes they can, and sometimes it's just somebody who thinks they can. So it's a little all over the place. But I haven't done near as much solo queue as I've done group queue.
That's you actually kind of said what I was about to say as far as which one I've been spending most of my time in. It's my solo hero characters are the only ones that I want to go into the solo queue with. So it's basically just 2. It's my Stamina Templar and my Stamina Sorcerer. Those are my 2 characters that they're very, very powerful. Like, they hit hard, they get lots of kills, and they're also self-sufficient, right?
Yeah.
If they get into a group and there's no group support whatsoever, and everyone's just scattered across the map and they're not playing as a team at all, I feel like if I'm on one of those 2 characters, my StamPlar or my StamSorc, I can handle that situation and be fine.
Yep. I think the key word what you said there is self-sufficient. That's usually if I do a solo queue, I do my StamDen, my Stamina Warden, because he's kind of like what you just said. He can kind of, he can do heals if he needs to be. He's tanky, can get out of fights that he's about to lose. That's the exact same reason I've done solo queue. You really kind of need to have kind of all the tools at your disposal if you're going to go into that solo queue. Yeah,
self-sufficient, damage-focused build.
Yes.
That's really the only type of build I like to take into the solo queue. A support build, forget it. Totally useless in the solo queue most of the time. So like true. My Mag Warden, my Magicka Necromancer, those characters, strictly the group queue. Even if I'm by myself, I like to go to the group queue with them, because those players, it's generally a higher caliber of player, and they're a bit more team focused. They're thinking in a group play kind of way, and so I can just I can contribute a lot more as a support character in those kind of matches.
Yeah, it's great. It's great to do the group queue by yourself on a support character, and you go into a team and the 3 other members on your team are all in a group together, so they're already on top of each other, the entire group. So all you got to do is follow around and give them support, and it usually works out really well.
Yeah, totally. Especially a Mag Warden. I love taking my Mag Warden in the group queue. I've also, surprisingly, I've found that my super squishy glass cannon builds when I'm playing solo, they fare better in the group queue, and it's for that same reason. The players in there are more group minded. There's a much higher likelihood that there's going to be actual support in the group. Like my StamDK, for example, she's super powerful. She hits really, really hard, but she's very squishy, extremely squishy. And in the solo queue, like, she needs group support. She has to have it. And in the solo queue, it's just rarely there, and so she basically just trades kills. She goes 1-for-1 almost every match there.
StamDKs are back right now. I mean, last night we kind of had a StamDK night. We were kind of alternating our StamDK with support characters, but we both, brought our StamDKs out that really have been dormant or on the shelf. Yeah. And we had a great night of Battlegrounds. Those are characters that, in our specific StamDKs, not all of them are this way, but they hit really hard, and they're not as tanky. They can't really take the range damage or all the hits or all the stuff going on. But if they have the support character, they can stay alive just enough to just start mowing people down.
Oh yeah, and they really do ascend in that kind of situation. Yeah, we had a couple of good combos. I had my MagDen healer along with your StamDK. That worked really, really well.
Yep.
We were having some really good success with that. And then your MagCro healer with my StamDK, basically just StamDK with a healer, just like you just said. It's pretty awesome right now. It works quite well, and yeah, it was a slaughter fest, man. It was really fun.
It was to the point. It was cracking me up because it was to that point where we're not as good as what those numbers were. Like, I can confidently say, all right, we're not this good.
Right. We were in some low MMR.
We were enjoying some low MMR. So we just kept waiting to be humbled. We were like, oh man, as soon as it puts us in a regular MMR match, we're gonna get humbled. We were just waiting for that humbling moment.
It didn't happen last night, but it's gonna happen quick.
Oh, it's coming. We're gonna get steamrolled here coming soon.
Yeah. But yeah, that's a fun pair. I especially liked your MagCro healer with my StamDK, because you have, of course, all the heals and this oppressive CC. And then my StamDK Sally, she just has so much damage, and people they don't see it coming. They're not ready for it.
I can honestly say now, we're only we're a full weekend to group Battlegrounds, right? A week and 1 day.
Yeah.
I can honestly say right now that my MagCro is my favorite. It's my favorite group Battleground character right now.
He's your number one.
That's my number one right now. Now, not all my builds are done. Davius's setup isn't done, so all those Davius fans out there, just hold your horses.
I really like your MagCro, and I think his name, the Never-Ending Nord, is so fitting because this dude is seriously immortal. I've seen it with my own two eyes. The guy doesn't die.
Oh man,
you can have like both teams just straight like target dummy DPSing you, and you're just like drinking a macchiato, just having
bring
a nice time.
Bring it on. So I'm gonna dive in just a little bit deep here, just to remind people of the build, the Never-Ending Nord. I do 5-piece Beekeepers, which is the 5-piece of that is 900 health recovery, and then just gives you a bunch of max health. And then I do the 5-piece of the Winter's Respite. That one is the one that drops whenever you do an AoE ability. It drops a circle of healing wherever you do that AoE ability. And then I do the Troll King monster set, 2-piece monster set. And really, the best part about that is that, like you said, the whole build is dedicated to just CC. What can I do to slow the opponent down? It's got the love this. I still have to give you credit for this idea, because it really is just almost the centerpiece to the CC part. Is the charged frost staff is just beautiful thing.
It's OP.
And then I have a shock
with the wall of frost.
Yep, I have a shock glyph on the frost staff with the wall of frost. So it's just as many status effects as I can get. They have the totem ability that you throw out there and starts fearing people. So all this CC, like you said, just oppressive CC. And then what all the actual sets allow me to do is that in Battlegrounds with no CP, I have 3,000 health recovery when Troll Kings kicks in.
Wow.
So that's where that never-ending part comes in that we were talking about, is that it's so much health recovery that as long as I'm smart about movement, or he can't just face tank things, but as long as he can take things, as long as I'm moving and just kind of interrupting, or just get a couple seconds where I'm not hitting, he has enough heals that he's just fine, because that's the other
I imagine
part
just the health recovery and the intensive mender alone is enough to keep you alive through most stuff, right?
Yep. And then that's so I just said all those the AoE abilities, and then his other abilities is just the renewing undeath, which is the necro kind of AoE heal, and then just radiating regeneration, and then just the intensive mender, and so those 3 healing abilities, and then it's a lot of fun to play this build because, and I was telling you this when we were playing the other day, it's the only build I have that I use every single ability on, like the ability, and obviously on my other builds I still use the abilities, that's why they're on the ability bar, but on this one I am constantly, there's not one ability that I have on the bar that I'm not using frequently.
Yeah,
I'm just,
that's how it is with my MagCro. Like other characters, you're right, there's always like an ability or two that you just use those situationally if you need it, not always. But on my MagCro, it's like I'm using all 10 abilities constantly.
There's just always situations, and I've told you this and I've mentioned it in the past, but the Winter's Respite, it's a really strong AoE heal, and I love the fact that whether I'm doing my totem or the renewing undeath AoE heal, because those are my 2 aimed AoE abilities, and that Winter's Respite just goes with those. So if we're in a situation where we need to throw down a totem for some CC, well, then that respite circle is going to pop up, and that totem is so that the team can jump in there and jump in the fight, and then that's going to be healing them. Or if our team's needing some extra heals, I'll throw the AoE heal underneath, and then the respite piles on top of that, and so it's just a lot of extra heals for the group that if we're getting hit real hard.
Winter's Respite is a really strong healing set. A lot of people are using it. I like it.
Yeah, it's just kind of it's 2,358 health every 1 second for 10 seconds. So
it's so strong.
Yeah, very strong heal set. The build's just a lot of fun to play. Like you said, it's a lot of fun not dying. And it believe it or not,
it makes sense in PvP. In PvE, it's kind of discouraged for a tanky type build to build selfishly. Yeah, because you want your sets to provide group support.
Yep.
But in PvP, it makes a ton of sense for a healer, like a tanky healer, to build selfishly, because you're going to get focused, and if you get focused and you die, then you're not providing any support. So it's actually a really good thing. And there's been a few times like you're getting target dummied, I'll get focused and I die. Takes me 15 seconds or so to respawn. I'll respawn, I'll come back, you're still there waiting for me.
Like here we go, let's try again. Yep. And I have to mention, the fun part about this build is not complete until I mentioned the ultimate is the Ravenous Goliath. That is my favorite. Yeah. That's like my favorite. That's the
crown jewel of the build.
That's my ace of spades, is that when things look dire, I'm out of resources, they finally got me down, they finally think they're going to get me, I always have that ultimate ready, and I just pop that ultimate, and it just, not only does it, basically just reset my ability to get all my resources back up, the health drops all the way up to like 62,000, but it also does so much AoE damage that people are always thrown so off guard by the damage, because that ability's damage is scaled by max health. And so when I hit it and bump up to 62,000 max health, it's like a 4,000 to 5,000 damage per second AoE.
Yeah, that's like the Destro ult. Yes. Like really strong.
And so it's like this person that was, really just kind of annoying them and hitting them with CC and healing, And all of a sudden I switch to that, and it's just enough pressure to where it's kind of damaging the area, but it was working so well the other night because it was just like, all right, now they're all kind of taking this extra damage, and your StamDK was just going and just finish them off. It was like just this little tick off their health, and it was just like your StamDK was just like, yep, that one's done, that one's done.
And they don't see it coming from that Goliath AoE. Like, they totally don't even see that coming, because up to that point you're just a healer. They can clearly see, oh, this guy doesn't do hardly any damage, so I can just DPS this guy and not worry about it. And then you go into Goliath form, and really all they're thinking is like, oh crap, he has all this extra health, it's going to take me a minute to kill him. They're not thinking that all this damage is coming along with that, and it takes them by surprise, and it's funny to watch.
It's an enjoyable moment for sure when it happens.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, man, it's a really great build. Like I said, I really super love running around with my StamDK along with that build of yours. They make such a great pair. So I'll talk about my StamDK a little bit. Her name is Bad Sally, which I really like that name. I think it suits her really well.
Very, very, very fitting name.
She's bad. She's bad.
You guys just have to see her. You just have to take our word for
it. Yeah, trust us. She's an orc, stamina dragon knight, and I finally got the build. Well, I got all the pieces together. I still need to do a little bit of transmuting, but it's together enough there. I can totally use it right now. So 5 pieces, Unleashed Terror, of course, everyone's favorite set right now. 2 pieces, Bloodspawn, the Maelstrom Two-Hander, Master Dual Wield, the Malakath Band of Brutality, and 2 pieces, Trainee. So it's all medium armor, very glassy, so much damage. Unleashed Terror, that's the one where if you use any kind of gap closer or any kind of teleport ability whatsoever, it just applies a really heavy bleed to that target. And then the Maelstrom Two-Hander basically does the exact same thing, except it only applies to the two-handed gap closer, critical charge. So you use critical charge, you gap closes someone, and both the Maelstrom Two-Hander and Unleashed Terror both proc on that target. And of course you have the Malakath Band of Brutality, just making it a ton of damage. It works really well, and what's nice is the two-handed gap closer, the Stampede morph, whenever you land at your target, it produces an AoE blast of direct damage. And everyone that blast hits, they all get the Unleashed Terror and the Maelstrom Two-Handed proc. So yeah, you just gap close into a group and do a leap, and sometimes that's just a group wipe right there.
Yeah, seeing Bad Sally in action it's just a sight to behold. There's so many times that we will be well outnumbered in a battleground. You know, we got thrown in a lot of the I want to call them flag games, but I guess they're called land grabs. We talked about the confusing part about that the other night, but the land grab is the games that have flags where you're just claiming the land with the flags.
Right.
But we got thrown into a lot of those. There were so many times that it was just me and you, and we were outnumbered probably 2 to 6, you know, just all these other people. And I knew, as I wouldn't even look at anything. It's like, all I got to do is keep Sally. If I can just keep her up, she is just going to mow all these people down. And it happened time and time again. It was such a sight to behold just to see Sally just erasing people. This character does so much damage. It's so fun to see firsthand.
It's super fun to play too. I've described the build as it's like riding a dirt bike. You know, it's just like it's crude and rough and tough and just fun and simple too.
The name was Dirt Bike Sally there for a little bit.
She went by Dirt Bike Sally for a little while, but Bad Sally is
too good. It's too good.
Is just a great name. But yeah, it's she's fully speed capped, so she runs really fast, and then having that gap closer and so much damage, it all combined, it makes for a super fast paced play style, especially like in a really active battleground where there's just lots and lots of targets around all the time. You can just go from one target to the next, like gap close, you're dead, gap close, you're dead, gap close, you're dead. It's just like one after the other, after the other, after the other. And you can really kind of get this kill streak going, and it's pretty awesome. It's really fun.
And I was even noticing the other night, like you were saying, when you go into a group and the whole group is getting all that, it worked out so well because this group would be real close, and then this character, you'd run in there and they would all get that two-handed maelstrom, and then they'd get that unleashed terror, and that group would split because they just got hit with all of this damage that they would start splitting up. They'd kind of, one would run off to go hit some heals. They went into survival mode, and then I would just watch you. It was like that was exactly what you wanted. It was like if any of them survived that they would run off, and it was just like you would just chase each one down. It was like, this is perfect. Like, got you on the run. Bad Sally's coming after you now.
Oh yeah, yeah. All that AOE, and then also if you have your Goliath ult going with that happening as well, man. I mean, it's a great combo. That's what we're saying. It works really well.
This is probably, we still have more testing to do, but we've kind of talked. This might be our best combo that we've discovered so far of all of our characters.
So far, at some point, like right now, we're kind of in this phase where like I just want to play with all of my characters as much as I possibly can. But at some point soon, I think we're going to kind of zero in. Like, let's get our squad together. Let's get real here. And this is a possible duo here that could be a part of that, I think.
Yeah, this could be kind of our A team going forward.
Maybe. Could be one of the possibilities.
One of the possibilities.
There's a few. So yeah, that's basically all I have to say about Sally. She's awesome. I got a little bit more transmuting to do, but like I said, she's functional enough as is. So I'm just going to enjoy that and just kind of take my time getting those last bit of details into place.
Yep, kind of the last just adjustments. Speaking of adjustments, I want to talk about. I'm gonna transition to my Stamina Templar.
Okay.
This is a character that I've had a lot of changes of recently. I know you love Stamina Templar. Everybody knows you love.
Don't get me started.
Love you some Stamina Templar, and I've had a lot of fun with this character, and it is such a fun class to play. But I kind of want to have a little open discussion because I'm in the situation where I've got too many sets that I want to use, and they just don't fit on the build. So the one set that is a keeper, and I don't think I'll have any arguments from you on this, is that I do have 5-piece Briarheart on this character.
Keep it.
Lock it in. And then I actually am using the Celine's monster set, the 2-piece monster set Celine's. Something about that, everybody knows, love me some good old Elder Scrolls Bears.
Right.
But something about the Celine's proc with jabs, it's roughly the same AoE area, and everybody knows how hard jabs hit. And when that bear just comes on top of it, they made recent changes where it's a lot less cast time on the bear, so it hits a lot more often, and it's a bigger AoE. I just really like that pairing. So that's the part that I really like. But Celine's might possibly be one of the ones that I have to kick off. But right now, like I said, I have the 5-piece Briarheart, the 2-piece Celine's, and then I'm actually using Dragon Guard Elite. So this is the set that when you deal direct damage to an enemy from their front or sides, you basically gain a stack for 5 seconds, and each one of these stacks increases your weapon critical by 476, and you can gain up to 5 stacks. So a lot of stuff there. Basically, you gain about 2,500 weapon crit. And so when I originally made this character, Briarheart with crit being kind of the focus, that's kind of what led me to that Dragon Guard Elite. Is that in no CP Battlegrounds, that gets my wearing that set with those 5 stacks, and then I do Camouflage Hunter on the bar. It gets my crit up to 70% in no CP, which is really nice. It's a lot of crit. It deals a lot of damage, and so that's what I'm wearing right now. Is the Dragon Guard Elite 5-piece Briarheart Celine's. Now my problem is that I really, really, really want to fit the Ring of the Wild Hunt on this character.
I like the idea of a StamPlar with the Wild Hunt ring.
I knew you'd be a fan of that. I just, I can either, drop Celine's and try to piece it in there. But I feel like that I'd be losing a lot of damage because that Celine's hits for It's around 14,000 when it procs, and it's it's an AOE area, so it can hit multiple people. So I worry if I lose Celine's, am I going to be losing a little too much damage? And then if I lose that Dragon Guard Elite, I still will have high weapon crit, but something about hitting 70% crit in a no CP battleground is just a really nice feeling. And so I'm worried if I drop that set, it'd probably drop me down to around 55-60% crit, which is still very high and very good.
That's very good.
But that 70% crit is just that's good. So I kind of want to just kind of hear your thoughts. I feel like you're probably, if I have to guess, well, I'll let you go first, but I feel like I have a guess on how your tinkering with it would go.
I guess I would have to see what the rest of your stats look like. I know a lot of the time with really high crit builds, the trade-off is that your actual weapon damage isn't super high. Mm-hmm. And so, it ends up being where like your crit's only as powerful as your weapon damage. You know what I mean?
So I should have mentioned that. So it's right now with the build setup. Now it's no Ring of the Wild Hunt. But it is, it's a 6-piece medium armor build with 1 heavy. So there is some speed there, but not Ring of the Wild Hunt speed. Mm-hmm. But with the 70% crit, it's 4650 fully buffed weapon damage.
Yeah, it's really not bad at all.
Yeah, so a pretty good, decent amount of weapon damage with that high crit. I just,
you have a comfortable amount of recovery.
Recovery is good. It's got 1700 stamina recovery, but I also have the repentance on the front bar. So, that's in Battlegrounds. There's usually always a body you can grab if you are running low. Yeah. I feel like the build is actually really good how I have it right now. And so I feel like I just need to convince myself to just be okay without using the Wild Hunt on the build and just find a different build to use it.
Let's see. Do you use a bow on that build or not?
I do not. It's 2 daggers on the front bar, dual wield daggers on the front bar, and then it's a 2-handed on the back bar so that I can have rally on the back bar.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, it sounds like a totally solid build. It's just how important is that speed to you?
See, and this is kind of blasphemy for us, but I actually am not currently using my Wild Hunt ring on any characters. It's just sitting in my bank right now. I feel like that
it's got to be, you got to use that for something. At least like a mat farming build or something.
Yeah, I assumed that I would just easily find a way to put it on this build, but like I said, the numbers really look good. The way that I have this build set up, I could drop Celine's, and that's not gonna make it's not gonna make my crit or weapon damage go down at all. But
yeah, you just lose out on that extra burst.
But that extra burst is really nice with that jabs, like I mentioned. So that's, to me, that's kind of the part that stands out. Is that maybe I just need to test of, what does Celine looks like, or take that off and then throw the Ring of the Wild Hunt. It kind of goes back to what we used to always talk about with these builds, is that you see these mythic items and it's like, all right, I've got to somehow find a mythic item on the build. And it almost feels weird if you don't fit a mythic item on the build. You kind of look at the build like, all right, this is kind of strange. Like, I don't have a spot for a mythic item here.
Yeah, or at least like an arena weapon or something too. Yeah. It's like my characters that just have like a 5.5.2 setup. It seems like, I need to do more. But actually, no. The build is totally great how it is, and it wouldn't make sense to put a mythic item or an arena weapon on there. But I still feel like I should.
Yep, I'm having that with my StamPlar right now. But
yeah,
I probably just need to settle in the build. Like I said, the numbers look really good. The stats look really good. Like I said, we talked about the weapon damage, the crit, the health and stamina is both at 25,000. So I think I probably just need to test it out a little bit more, but I really kind of just wanted to discuss, we always enjoy that kind of theory crafting, and I feel like that's just always a pain point. And that can't just be me and you. There's always a pain point of, is there a way to squeeze a mythic item into this build that makes sense, or is it going to be hurting something?
Yeah, and like, how much are you hurting without that speed right now too? Is another like consideration.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Well, on the topic of StamPlars, it may surprise you.
I said the word StamPlar.
You said StamPlar, so I got to talk about mine now. It's my turn to talk about StamPlar. So, last week, I'm going to back up and actually talk about StamSork for just a second.
Sure.
Last week, I was talking about my StamSork Tane and how much I was super digging that build, and I was thinking that for this patch, that might be my main guy that I spend most of my time with. I still feel very strongly about that build. It's awesome. I play with him a lot, and that build's locked in. It's not going anywhere. However, last week, I logged in with Betsy, my Stamina Templar, and I changed my mind, and Betsy's going to be my main this patch.
We need to have a silent pause for everybody's to pick up their jaws from the floor.
I know, it's surprising.
It's shocking.
I mean, Betsy has always actually been my PvP main. Like, that's never not the case, you know, and I just take these little periods of time where I spend with other characters.
Yeah, I always look at it like this. And, you know, I feel like, you know, all your characters are great. But your Stamina Templar and your Stamina Sork always kind of rise to the top. And I look at it like this. Your Stam Sork is probably a little bit meaner and a little bit, you know, more like harder hitter, but just a hair. But you just love your Stamina Templar just a little bit more. So there's a little bit more love on the Stamina Templar, but probably a little bit more effectiveness on the Stam Sork.
Maybe so, a little bit. I mean, Betsy hits really hard too.
Just a hair.
They're close. I would like to see them duel each other and see how that would come out. Actually, honestly, I feel like I get better results with Betsy. And both of these characters, my StamPlar and my StamSork, their MMR is through the stratosphere, all right? It's the sweatiest of sweaty matches every single time with these two.
Swampy level.
Yeah, totally. But I think in general, I tend to get better success with Betsy. I think it's due to a couple of factors. One, I'm just super duper comfortable with this build. I've been playing with her for a long time with exactly how she's set up right now, and I can play this build with my eyes closed, you know. I also think that cleanse is not to be underestimated in the current meta. It's so handy to have that cleanse, and the fact that that's my only magicka dump in the entire build. It's my only ability that costs magicka, so I can spam that cleanse as much as I need to, which is often in the current meta.
Yeah. Well, we haven't really talked about, but group battle along with group battlegrounds. Not that it really ever went anywhere, but I felt like it died down for a little bit. But Venomous Smite is fully back in the world of group battlegrounds.
Venomous Smite and Unleashed Terror usually together on the same build. It's usually a StamSork streaking through a group, stunning everyone and applying both of those really nasty procs. And yeah, that's kind of what I've been seeing a lot of. Anyway, StamPlar. Her build, it's the same as it's been for a while now. It's Bone Pirate, Deadly Strikes, the Master Bow on the back bar. So Deadly Strikes is just complete on the front bar with a two-handed maul. One Piece Molag Kenna, and Ring of the Wild Hunt. And it's all it's 7 pieces medium armor, and she's got that bow in the back bar, of course, and she's an orc. So she's super duper fast. Well, and the Wild Hunt ring, she's extra fast. She's basically speed capped at all times, more or less. Like anytime she does a roll dodge, she's at the speed cap. And yeah, I think another secret to her success is jabs. Actually, we've talked about this ability before, but it is the best spammable in the game. The fact that you don't need a target to cast it, I think, is such a huge thing. Because that allows you to pull Nightblades out of stealth really easily. Also, like when you're chasing someone down and they're trying to get away from you, Jabs has a pretty far reach compared to other melee spammables. It's like 8 meters.
The animation of Jabs is very misleading.
Yeah, it reaches pretty far, and it snares people on the final hit as well. So, like, I think like the kills that I miss out on my StamSork are like when I'm up against other builds that are very mobile and they use a lot of movement, and it's like my abilities don't quite reach far enough to actually land a lot of those attacks. Whereas with Betsy, it's really not a problem. She can keep people in those jabs so easy, and it helps quite a bit that basically her entire combo is just jabs, you know. So it really just kind of simplifies things. I mean, she hits someone with poison injection to proc the master bow, and of course you got power of the light, but it really just comes down to jabs most of the time.
Yeah. Maybe that's a better way to explain your Stamina Templar and your Stam Sork, is that your Stamina Templar, old Betsy, is a little bit more, we were talking earlier about it, a little bit more self-sufficient. And that's big. That's big on a character. Like you said, the cleanses and she can heal herself a little bit easier.
And I think I tend to play smarter with this build too, like knowing what her toolkit is, knowing what her limitations are. Like with the Sork, I tend to overextend quite a bit. I tend to like get really out there because like I got streak, I can get out of here, no big deal. I kind of go balls to the wall a lot of the time and get myself in trouble. Whereas with Betsy, I know I'm not going to be able to streak out of there. I can roll dodge a few times if I need to, but really I need to play smart. I think that's also a reason why I have good success with her. So anyway, like I was saying earlier when I was talking about my StamDK, we have a few options as far as when we get our for real squad together. Betsy's obviously going to be another contender for that.
Oh, for sure. I feel like you're going to have a real struggle on your hands if it ends up being Bad Sally and the Never Ending Nord. The fact that your Stam Sork or your Stamina Templar aren't going to be on the list, I don't know how you're going to handle that. That's going to be you're going to need a couple of days to recoup.
Yeah, the way I'm feeling right now, I'm definitely leaning StamPlar. So I feel like that's the one that I'm going to be spending most of my time with.
Let me ask you this though: which one did you log in with most recently?
StamPlar, Betsy.
just a random question, just a random, has nothing to do with it, but
yeah, it's just fun. It also, I tell you, another big factor too is Betsy's cosmetic situation. Her outfit is on point, man. It's just like a sweet character to look at, and I feel like that's a part of it too.
That makes a big difference.
Yeah.
So speaking, talking about the looks of characters there, I'm gonna switch to my Stamina Warden, Bearclaw the Nord.
Okay.
This is
now Bearclaw and Betsy. They've done some stomping around in the past. We need to get those two together again here pretty soon.
They've done some battlegrounds in the past. This is probably one of the simplest looks of a character, but.
He is a connoisseur of shades of brown.
Yeah, he's just every shade of brown in the game, and it's just all bears, just old Bearclaw the Nord. He has the brown bear costume from the Orsinium area, and then he has the brown bear mount, the brown bear cub pet, and then of course the Warden bear summon. He is literally all things bear.
Yeah.
His front bar is the bow, and he has it's the huntsman's bow, which is just the perfect bow. That's my, we always go back and forth about what our favorite looking bow is. Is it yours is the Welkanar, and then mine is the huntsman bow.
Huntsman is sweet too, and actually, I also use the huntsman on my StamDen. So there you go.
It's a good one.
Yeah.
But this character is, it kind of ties into his simple look. Like, he's just simple with all these other changes I'm making to all these other characters and switching sets out and edits and adjustments. No changes across the board. All I had to do was I switched his stamina recovery glyphs on his jewelry to damage glyphs, and he was set and ready to go out of the gates.
Nice.
Which I think made me like him. Just, I already love this character. He was my very first alt character I made, so he was the very first character I made after Davius. But it made me like him just a little bit more because it's just kind of a simple character, very simple sets. Just kind of remind people it's just the 5-piece innate axiom, and then 5-piece automatons. The innate axiom is just 400 spell and weapon damage to your class abilities, and then automatons is 400 weapon damage to your physical damage abilities. And then his entire front bar is just across the board all of the animal companion abilities.
Yeah, just the entire animal companion skill tree on your front bar.
Yep. So they get, most of those abilities get the I think all of them except for the sub assault get the bonuses from both those sets. And the sub assault still gets the bonus from the innate axiom, so it's still getting some buff. And then I just do the Celestrix monster set, 2-piece monster set, and that one's just kind of a really good. I really want to sell Celestrix. I know a lot of people out there have started to use it.
Yeah, it's really come into prominence lately.
Yeah, it's such a great stamina proc set for there's not a whole lot of those out there for monster sets. There's not a lot of good proc monster sets for stamina characters, and this is really a really good one, and it works perfectly on stamina. And it can be ranged if for a bow class. It works really well. That's been a good change and adjustment to him. But really all I did to him is just throw on some the weapon damage glyphs. And I've been surprised. Just he's in the group battlegrounds. He's actually come out hitting a lot harder than I thought. We've run a couple battlegrounds, and I've been a little surprised by just kind of what his damage numbers have been. Not that he's he can hit hard just because he's a stamina warden. They've got a great toolkit, but just a little bit of buff. It was just kind of like just the extra little sauce he needed to kind of really take him over the top. That he's actually worked pretty well in these group battlegrounds, and I've been really impressed with his damage numbers.
I'm happy to hear that the heavy armor bow build is not going anywhere. That's
heavy
great.
Armor bow build, no changes at all. It's the perfect strategy.
That's good. I saw Bear Claw's name on the outline here. I'm like, wait a minute, what are you doing to Bear Claw?
Don't you dare change him.
Yeah.
He's staying the same. I've got the bear up to with the weapon damage glyphs. When you use the ultimate, that's my favorite part about the build is throwing the bear at people. For 75 ultimate, the bear does 14,500 damage. Mm-hmm. So I love throwing the bear, and it works as a great execute. And we've been kind of talking about this. The bear ultimate's kind of become a little bit more popular lately. A lot more than what it used to be, because you used to never see them.
I've seen a few bears running around.
Yeah, it's one of the better pets, and we talked about the different strategies.
I hate
why.
it. Like being on the receiving end of it, I super hate it.
Yeah, it gets in your face. It has a chance to stun you, which is
big.
It's big, and it's too tanky where you can't just kill it real quick. It's actually tanky enough to where you don't want to waste resources on killing it.
I never tried to kill it, but then I do because it's getting on my nerves, but then I stop because it's so tanky, and then I'm dead because the warden got me.
Yeah, good old bear. Good old Bear Claw. Yeah. But yeah, I just kind of wanted to bring him back up. That he's been a really good build just because he was kind of all the characters I had, he was the most ready to go out of the gates with these new changes. With the sustain buffs that happened, just kind of switching weapon damage glyphs, and the build still works great. And he's just dealing a little bit extra damage. And I highly recommend anybody. It's such a easy build to farm for, as well as it's a pretty relatively easy build to play, and it's a lot of fun. It's all class skills. You're not using a whole lot of different skills. And it's pretty simple rotation, and it's got speed, it's got self heals, it's got an execute with the bear.
Very survivable.
Yep, survivable, tanky, and it can be ranged when it needs to. He likes to be up in the front. He's a melee. He likes to be in melee range, but when he needs to be, it uses the cutting dive with the bow. And so it can be ranged if it needs to be. So it's just really kind of just a Swiss.
The Fletcher flies, those are ranged too, right?
Yep, can hit people with that. So it's just kind of a Swiss Army knife build that is just a lot of fun to play with in Battlegrounds.
Nice. Dude, I really like StamDen. I'm going to talk more in a future episode about my StamDen, because I've been having fun with that dude lately too. But right now I'm actually really infatuated with my Magicka Warden, whom I've named Aunt Lola. I want to talk about her for a minute because this character, I feel like every character I talk about is like, this is my new favorite character. No, this one's my new favorite character.
This is the PSA on this for the listeners. It's whatever the trick is whatever character he's logged in with at the moment is his favorite character. He'll never realize it, but it is the truth. Whoever he's logged in with, that's his favorite character.
Yeah. A lot of the time, that's true. Unless it's my Stam blade.
That is true.
If I'm logged in with him, I'm just getting something out of his inventory because he's just a pack mule right now.
That poor character, that poor guy.
He was my first ever character, and I played with him a whole lot, basically until I beat the main story, and then
he was your solo. He was not your MMO character. He was your solo. You played that as your Skyrim character for ESO, and then once you beat the game, you moved on.
Yeah, made a Mag Blade and played the MMO, actually. Yeah. Aunt Lola, my Magica Warden, she's awesome. She has always been the MVP of any team that she's on. Really, any Magica Warden is. Her build right now is Hades Hearth, Curse Eater, Mighty Chudan, of course. My phone's telling me it's bedtime. And then the Master Fire Staff on the front bar. So Curse Eater is only active on the back bar, but that's just fine because Curse Eater only procs off of direct heals, and I only have direct heals on my back bar. So it actually doesn't do anything on my front bar at all. So it makes it really nice and easy to just slide that Master Fire Staff in there and don't really lose out on anything, and it gives me a ton of extra damage. Now, I think I'm going to make a little bit of a change here, which it's a tough decision to make, but I think I'm going to make it. I think I'm going to drop Hades Hearth, which is one of my favorite sets. It pains me because I really like Hades Hearth a lot, but I want this character to hit a little harder. So I'm going to put a set back on her that she used to use, which is Spell Power Cure.
Love that set too. Another great set.
Bread and butter set. Such a good one. Major Courage, which is the buff that this set provides, was majorly buffed this patch. It's like almost doubled in value.
I forgot about that. Yeah, huge buff.
Yeah, it's like instead of, I think it was like 258, now it's like 400 something. I can't remember the exact number, but it's like around 450. So, it's a great set to buff your teammates, of course, but it's also, with that amount of damage, it's a great just damage set for yourself to use. It's like basically the value that New Moon Acolyte gives you, but without the cost increase of all your abilities.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
So it's really nice. It's giving myself that nice damage buff as well as all of my allies. So I'm going to go with, I think I'm going to do that Spell Power Cure, Curse Eater, keep Curse Eater, Mighty Chudan, and also keep the Fire Staff. So just get rid of Hades Hearth and hopefully find another character to put that on because it's such a good set. I would hate to just let it go to waste in my bank. But Davis, you might be thinking Spell Power Cure. Weren't you thinking about using that on your...
I'm worried about your Sork build.
So I put that build together. I got the Ring of the Pale Order. Side note, pretty easy farm. Anyone who hasn't gotten that yet, if you're kind of putting that off, it only took me maybe 3 hours to get that thing beginning to end. Yeah, it's not bad. No like group dungeons or anything like that. It's all stuff you can... That's just like world bosses, delve bosses, like basic stuff like that. Pretty easy. One of them is like a chest farm. Like you have to go to some zone and just farm chests. So yeah, I got that Pale Order ring for my Sork, and the idea was to use that with Spell Power Cure and Redistributor, and so I would be doing damage, and the Pale Order ring would be healing me based off of that damage, and then that would proc Redistributor, which would heal other people, and then that would also give them the Spell Power Cure proc as well. So I put that build together, and I played around with it for a bit. I did several battlegrounds, and I'm just not pleased with the performance, to be quite honest. Like, he's, instead of being like, this combo where he like does damage and he's also supporting the team, it really feels more like he's just kind of a crappy damage dealer and also kind of a crappy healer. Like the numbers just in any match that I did, the numbers really didn't look that great. And aside from the numbers, just my experience of playing the build and how much success I was having, it just didn't feel good. It wasn't, maybe it's just a matter of me not being amazing with a sorcerer, but I don't know. I've played Sork before and have had decent success. So I just think this build might not be. It was a cool idea. It's a neat, idea to try out. And I was having fun just trying it. I just like putting these builds together and see what happens. But now since trying it, I don't think that's going to work out. I might figure something else out with him or just put him on the shelf for now. But I am going to take that spell power cure back off of him and give it back to Lola. And I think that's going to be a good change. And I'm probably going to spend quite a bit of time with this character, especially in group situations.
Due to Lola, I've had a lot of fun with my characters.
Yeah.
She's made Battlegrounds more fun for me.
She's great. She's a super powerful healer, like one of my very best healers. And she surprises you with the amount of damage she can pack as well, man. She can flip to that front bar and give you a combo that will knock your socks off.
Yeah, she hits a lot harder than you would realize.
Yeah.
She can hit hard. We were doing a match the other day, and it was a low MR match, so take that into mind. It was one that was just kind of a fun match. By no means do I think that this is numbers that we would normally get. But it was kind of funny to me because, we kind of went in there. I was on my StamDK, kind of the heavy hitter. He's got Malakath ban, and you were kind of in there as the support build. And I think at the end of it, I was looking at the numbers and I was like, wow, this is a good match for me. I think I got like 19 kills and had like 1 death. It's like, wow, this is pretty good. And I was like, I wonder what Lola's healing numbers are. And I looked over at Lola, and Lola, you had like 16 kills with no deaths. I was like, oh, dang. Yeah. It's like the healer's out. It's taking my job from me. Jeez.
And her typical numbers are like 500K and 500K, like both damage and heals.
Both. I was like, oh, gosh, I don't know if Lola needed me.
Yeah. She's awesome. I say this, I think, almost every time I talk about a mag warden, but I love facing off against Sorks with her because she's just immune. She's just totally immune to Sorks, and it's just funny to watch because they just give up after a short while. So anyway, those are the builds that we've been focused on this week. It's been fun, man. I'm so glad group BGs are back. I know we're repeating ourselves at this point, but it sucked so much having them take it away.
Yeah, it's just such a great time right now. The game is the most fun it's been, and since we've had group battlegrounds. It
alleviates the current meta as well. We've talked a lot about how the atmosphere is really volatile right now, right?
Yeah.
Like simply just existing in a battleground, even if no one's focusing you at all, it can be a struggle to just stay alive with all the passive stuff flying around. And it's hard to deal with in a solo situation. Like I was talking about earlier with my StamDK in the solo queue, she can't handle it at all. But the meta the way it is now is pretty bearable. It's not so bad at all now that we can have some support and we can plan for that. It's really nice.
Yeah, it feels really, Battlegrounds feel really good right now in the group Battlegrounds.
Yeah. So that's kind of it going on. There's radio silence news-wise this week. Really nothing's happening at all. We're going to have a maintenance patch this next coming Monday, the 16th, where basically 10,000 bugs are going to get fixed.
I hope it's a big one because, oh man.
They said they have a list of all the known bugs. They say they're going to fix that werewolf bug, and you're going to get your skill points back.
Man. The werewolf bug, that's the one that one hurts me the most. I've been so excited to play my werewolf in this patch with the changes in group battlegrounds, and I haven't been able to do a single battleground. Just can't do it. Just sitting there, just hanging out there.
Well, Monday we'll do it.
Monday it's gonna happen. Next episode, I'm gonna be talking about my werewolf.
I can't wait.
Good or bad, I'm gonna be talking about it.
They're also apparently going to fix that light attack weaving bug. I don't know if I'm sure anyone who plays a ranged character has definitely noticed this thing. It sucks big time.
I'm glad you actually brought this up. I was going to ask you about this. I've noticed it with jabs on Davius. I have just a PvE, just kind of questing build on him, and his Magicka version of jabs. I've noticed it real bad with that. I was going to ask if you had noticed anything like that, but
I haven't played with a MagPlar, but I've definitely noticed that it's the severity of the bug depends on how far away you are from your target, because it's an animation bug, and what's happening is it's like you'll fire your light attack, and normally you'll do a light attack and then activate a skill, and the animation of the skill overrides the light attack, right? It cancels the light attack animation. Mm-hmm. Well, what's happening now is your skill animation actually doesn't play out until your light attack lands, till it hits your target. So the further away you are from your target, the longer it takes for that light attack to land. And so it exacerbates that bug. If you actually get up closer to your target, you hardly notice the bug at all. I've noticed.
I think the reason I've noticed this so much is that, in PvE, if you've got a high level character with all the CP, you can mow through, some PvE mobs pretty quick. Uh-huh. And I've noticed it really, really bad because these mobs are dying before I'm like thinking they should be dead. Like,
yeah,
they'll be at like half health and all of a sudden they're just on the ground dead. And it's like, whoa, what just happened? Like,
anyway, thankfully they say they have a fix. It's going to be here on Monday. That's the one I'm really looking forward to, because like Lola here that I was just talking about, she's really awesome right now, but that is one major sticking point, is that light attack weaving bug affects her quite a bit, and it makes certain things pretty challenging.
Yeah.
So that's basically all that's going on. You go to the ESO forums, you click on the dev tracker at the top, and you'll just see all the way down, it's just bug fixes. There's no real news happening this week. So we'll just move on to emails and shout outs. There are no emails this week, but if you'd like to send us an email.
You had me there for a second. I was like, no. Yeah, no. That was just a good old trick there.
Yeah.
The knee slapper there.
No emails this week, but if you'd like to send us an email, you can email us at scrollinpodcast@gmail.com. That's scrollin with an I-N, no G, scrollinpodcast@gmail.com. Tell us a funny joke, ask us a question, ask us to elucidate anything that we've talked about that you might want to hear more about. Ideas for the show, really anything you want, as long as you're pleasant about it. We have a guild called Stoons Goons. We are a PvP focused, we're a social guild with a slight PvP focus. That's what we are.
That's what we are.
I say slight PvP focus because we actually do basically everything this game has to offer on a regular basis. We help each other farm for gear. We talk about build ideas and just hang out in Discord and talk and share memes and have a good time. We're very, very non-toxic, super friendly. Basically, the way you hear us talking here on this podcast right here and now this is really who we are all the time.
That's just pretty much it.
So that could be good or bad. That might drive you away from the guild. Who knows?
I just now remember this. I do have one random, totally strange announcement. Okay. And it's not a big deal at all, but I did tell myself I was going to tell you. I actually maxed out my scrying abilities this past week.
Nice.
Finished the quest. It's done.
I think my scrying is maxed out too, but excavation is still stuck at 9.
Okay. See, I got excavation and scrying done. I did it. I maxed it out. It was kind of just snuck up on me, and I just started doing some antiquities. When did Greymore drop?
How long ago was that?
Hey.
Well, that's the thing. You only got to get up to 9 to get the mythic items, right? Yeah, and so then we just stopped.
Yeah. But I did it. That's my announcement for the week. There is my.
Congrats, man!
I had to get it out there.
Feels good.
All
right. Well, I guess it's going to wrap up this episode. Actually, it went surprisingly longer than I was expecting it to. For as little news as there is this week, I was worried that we were going to have a hard time.
Group battlegrounds are back. We could talk for days.
Yeah, we got all the content we need. We just play a few more BGs if we're running short on content.
That's right.
All right, I guess that's going to be it for episode number 38. I appreciate everyone listening to us this far as we approach episode number 40. It's going to be here pretty soon. The show's going to start having a midlife crisis and buying a sports car all that kind of stuff. Anyway, hope we'll see you next time for episode 39. See you later.